Hello and welcome to Leadership Wednesday. I have another very special guest today with me, and we want to speak about personal branding. And I invited the authority at all, to my knowledge, worldwide, the famous Dr. Natalia Wiechowski. Good morning, Natalia.
Good morning, Christian. Thank you so much for your kind words and for this amazing introduction. Let's see if I can meet the expectations.
Oh, I'm very sure about that. Natalia, we know each other now for a while. And the thing what I really like about you is that you're bringing together education and entertainment. So it's always fun and always very thought-provoking to listening to your podcast and your regular videos.
Thank you so much. Yeah, edutainment is my thing. Without it, I wouldn't be able to thrive.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're watching kids, it's much easier when you teach them doing something funny or some game, and so they remember much better than just with teaching in the classroom, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we grown-ups are kids deep down inside as well. And I don't know about you, but I remember things better when somebody told me a story around it, or made it funny, or used colors, or was a little bit crazy, or different, or provocative. So why not making use of these strategic tools or strategies, however you want to call it, to make people think and laugh?
Yeah, exactly. Last week, I had Florian Homeyer in my show, and we talked about storytelling for leaders, and that was also very inspiring. To connecting deep truths or business content with stories.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and people will resonate with that content so much more. And although a lot of people don't believe or don't see LinkedIn as or the other way around, a lot of individuals that I know, they think that they need to post very, very professional, serious content that's all about fact and data and whatever on LinkedIn. If that's your brand, and if you want to do that, sure. But you know what? If you try a story here and a little bit of color there and a little bit of laughter beyond that, I'm sure that people will resonate more with it, and they will connect deeper with you, and they will build a relationship with you. And we know that that's what we need anyway, before people start working with us, following us, and maybe even turning into a client or a potential collaboration partner.
Yeah, that's right. And the interesting thing is what I heard from you last week was that personal branding starts at kindergarten. I mean, that is something I never thought about, but I think that's really true, right?
Yeah, I mean, my personal branding approach is, if I want to take all the complexity out of it, and if I go to the two basic ideas, it is based on Shakespeare, who supposedly once said, what if life is just a stage and all we do is theater? What if we need the applause of others to be seen as an expert, to be admired, to make it in life, right? Freely translated. I have never read that piece of Shakespeare. And the other idea that I really resonated with was, I think it comes from Pablo Picasso, who again supposedly once said, learn the rules like a pro to then break them like an artist. And this is exactly what I do with my personal branding approach. I've studied human behavior for I don't know how many years. I'm a social scientist, doctor of philosophy. My expertise is human beings. I mean, how do we behave in groups? And after as I know how it works, at least in Western modern, societies, if I want to call them that way, and then it's relatively easy to tap into different areas or aspects to break the artists to break the rules like a pro, like an artist. It's early this morning. And through that, get the attention, get the applause, and use that to make the world a better place, but also to drive or grow your business to the next level.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And, my audience are usually, let's say, mid-level executives, leaders, solopreneurs, and a lot of them are still more in the, let's say, old conservative world, machinery, and this kind of areas, heavy industry and things like that. And they're often wondering, or I often get questions, Christian, why do I need personal branding? And this is a bit spooky, and this is a bit for, this guys eating pizza the whole day and sitting and doing computer games. So why do we as executives need personal branding?
Well, first of all, we have a personal brand anyway, because your personal brand or your brand is what other people say about you when you're not in the room. That is what Jeff Bezos once said. So what do we learn? We learn that even if you like it or don't like it or deny it or judge it, you have a personal brand, because your personal brand is the end result of how you walk, talk, how you dress, how you make people feel, your digital footprint, and so much more. So instead of being a passive victim of your circumstances, and instead of allowing others, the internet, your neighbors, your colleagues to dictate who you are, it's again up to us to think a little bit Shakespeare and Picasso and get clear on the questions: how do I want to be perceived? What do I stand for? What do I stand against? And then diplomatically, elegantly shape the way how we are perceived through changing the way how we maybe dress. Because we all know, I mean, people, in German we say Kleider machen Leute, so dress to impress. I mean, the way how you dress has an impact on how you're perceived. You can also change the way how you create content. You can invest a little bit more time, love, and energy, and through that, it will be perceived as more professional. Wow, when you're more professional, people might think you add more value that could get you more clients. There are so many boxes, so many aspects where you can literally fine-tune things in order to get more out of your career, more out of your business in order to help more people. And I'm not saying here, put on a mask, turn into a fake persona online. It doesn't make sense. I'm all about enhancing, and how far you go, how crazy you are, how colorful you are, it's totally up to you. So everybody has a personal brand. And by the way, there are quite a few studies that say if you work for somebody and if you have actively worked on your personal brand, you get approximately 10% more of a higher rise than somebody who has never worked on his personal brand before.
Yeah, that's very interesting, what you're saying. And I think, what I found out, since I'm doing this more, let's say, in a bigger way, the last 1.5 years, you're getting perceived different also, when you are a speaker or when you're going for the first time for a client, because I think it was you also, to say that people today, they are Googling you and looking at LinkedIn before you even meet them the first time. And so it's your way that you can perceive them, to think about you in a certain way, even before you have met the first time.
Absolutely. And it's also an easier conversation starter. When you know the person is passionate about leadership and kite surfing, how awesome is it if you could start a conversation like, yo, this weekend was so windy. I've seen on LinkedIn that you're also a kite surfer. I love that. Or I never tried it. I so want to do it. This way you totally break the ice. You show that you've done your homework. You show respect, which is still very important in rather conservative industries, to show respect. So that's one easy way to do it. Why not?
Yeah. The interesting thing is also about you, Natalia, you are going back and forth different cultures. You're living now since a couple of years in Dubai, one of my favorite cities, with so much bustling and energy, but you're also speaking in the Far East and also in the US. And I wonder, if you as a social scientist have discovered different ways how personal branding is done in this societies, and maybe you can give some hints to my audience as well.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the approach that I have developed, my personal branding approach, works best for people that have been living, educated, raised, surrounded by what I would call modern Western consumption-driven society, for a lack of a better expression. And because I've studied it, I know how it works, I'm part of it. So I know which buttons we need to press in order to be perceived as an expert, in order to be provocative, in order to stand out. I know what kind of fears and insecurities people have based on their own socialization. Now, I have, for example, never worked with a client from China or Japan. I don't know much about the Chinese or Japanese culture. So I would, if I work with such a person, say, this is what I want you to do. This is how it works in my culture. How is it in yours? Like, is it the same, or are there different aspects? So I, for example, as far as I know, I'm not the expert on this topic, I believe that in Asian cultures, there's a tendency that age is incredibly important, that people respect people automatically more once you simply have been living on this planet for a longer time. So it might be difficult to use a standard method that I use in order to life hack yourself out there. You might need to find a sneaky way how to get yourself to where you want to be when you're maybe in your mid-20s, and you can't wait for 40 years until you make an impact. Although over there, I would still then challenge, is that really true? Or is that a limiting belief that you have? So that would be an example for somebody who, for example, comes from the Asian region. Mm-hmm. What I've realized when working with a lot of people here in the Middle East, again, generalizing is never good, but we do that now to give our best to describe complex things and make them easy so that we grasp it and then say, yeah, but that's just in a perfect circumstance and perfect model if there were no external circumstances. Based on everything that I've observed, when I compare somebody who, for example, comes from Bahrain, or Kuwait or Qatar, when I compare such a person with somebody who lives in France or Germany or maybe Italy, I have to feel Italy is not a good example. Sweden, France, or Germany. The way how the different societies work and see the individual is completely different. In my perception, countries like Germany, France, Sweden, the individual is very, very important, and it's, you know, you are part of your family, it's cool, but you are you, right? You have a name, you have like you need to apply for a job and send out your CVs, and it's basically the units are smaller, like the individual as itself is maybe a key character when we describe things. While here in the Middle East, it's quite interesting, even in the names of people have the names of their father. So you have Muhammad bin Saeed bin whatever. So bin or even means son of. That means that even in the wording, the individual is deeper connected to her or her family or clan or however you want to call it, or specific, I don't know, part of society. So I believe that the social pressure on the individual here in the Middle East is higher to act aligned with the values of the family. The respect and the name of the family is higher. The negative consequences of saying, you know, I show you the middle finger, I do my own thing, are so much dramatically higher, more negative compared to, again, somebody who comes from Germany, Sweden, whatever. But that's not true, of course, for everybody, because it depends on how modern a family is. It depends on how you have been raised, on so many different aspects. But if I would have to describe the difference to make it easier, that's what I definitely observed. So you really, really need to understand societies and the rules of society, which makes sense because then we go back to Picasso, learn the rules like the pro to break them like an artist. But you need to know how massive or how terrible the punishment rules are, because you don't want to get into trouble, right?
Yeah. And, you know, I have, we're coming to the point, you know, where we're talking about your upcoming book in English. I had the privilege to read the German version, and I found it very fascinating. First of all, because of the content, of course, but secondly, you're not bragging about yourself, you let other brag and tell the practical experience, what they got out from your coaching and your book. And so maybe you would like to tell my audience about the book and what they can learn and can get out of it.
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much once again for reading the book and for talking about it. That really makes me happy because I've written a PhD and I know that it just gets dusty somewhere there on the shelves, and that hurts my ego. So I wanted to write a book that people read. And I was a little bit torn is my first book my story, or is my first book a book that talks about my method and my personal branding method? And as everything in life, I realized that 5 years ago, I decided against A or B. I give my best to say A and B. So I said, you know what? I take both and make a book out of it. And you won't believe how many people said, that's a terrible idea. People will never read it. It's confused. You don't do that. This is not how people write books. And I'm like, you know what? I'll make it even worse. I'm going to write in a way how I speak. Ooh! So everybody who loves grammar and beautiful poetic language will be like, ugh, ugh. I'm like, I do it anyway. And the feedback was incredibly positive. I mean, it was a 2 times Amazon bestseller, right? It was an Amazon bestseller in e-commerce books and in general marketing. So many people screamed for an English version. So that's what I did. I sat down, I translated it, already ordered a test print. And so once the test print is here, like shipped to the UAE, and everything looks good, I'll make sure I launch the book as well. So you're going to learn a lot about myself, my story. You're going to learn how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn. And you will definitely also learn about the transformational stories of more than a handful of my customers, because I'm excited about their journey of growth, and just seeing their stories and how they have changed makes me happy, number one. And number two, it's there to give people hope. It's like, because maybe one last thought, a lot of individuals ask me like, oh my God, Natalia, are you a robot? Are you an alien? Are you from out of space? Because you're working so hard and so smart and you're so successful. And I'm like, yes and no. I mean, I've been working on exactly that for the last 5 years. I don't know, up to 16 hours per day. And that's the reason where I am where I am. I'm not an alien. I'm not something special. I'm a human being as you are, but I just worked myself almost into exhaustion to get to where I am right now. And then I changed into working smarter than hard. But people don't believe me. But when they see my clients with their face, with their story, they're like, yeah, okay, well, okay, no, that one must be something special. That one is also an alien. Okay, but then they see another one. It's like, yeah, but that one most probably whatever. So they come up with all of these excuses. But the more stories I give people, the more they realize, maybe these are real human beings just as I am as well. And maybe I also have the potential to change and to get these results. And this is why I tell these stories.
Yeah, it offers a lot of hope, to people, and also some people just needing a kick in the butt, to go and to stop the excuses and do something, and challenging themselves. Fascinating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Kick in the butt, slap in the face, whatever people need, not to hurt them, but to wake up and to succeed.
It's a metaphor. So what we will do is, as soon as the book is ready, I will share most certainly a link for the Amazon, that my people are able to follow you right now. Is there anything else, Natalia, what you would like to share, some upcoming events or so?
This week, actually, I'm going to launch 2 new online courses because people were screaming for it. So the first course will be all about LinkedIn profile optimization, but it's not the standard optimization. It's more about how to turn your LinkedIn profile into a landing page, because that's what a lot of people don't understand. So I teach people step by step what they need to do, why they need to do it, how to get a great background picture, how to, survive the first photo shoot, how to write LinkedIn recommendations, and so much more. And then also a proper online course that really explains my LinkedIn method, because a lot of people said, I want to do the online course first, and then I want to work with you in your LinkedIn group coaching. Can't you just build a medium-sized course? And I'm like, okay, fine, you get it.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, thank you so much, Natalia, for coming. And I will be next week with my usual content. Thank you so much.
Thanks.